Hello there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. I am excited for today's conversation because we got together four incredible outliers who are like, I don't know, just chilling in the ways that they continue to grow themselves, the way that they continue to challenge the status quo, and also do it in a way that is like in authenticity to each of them. I'm excited for you to get to know each of them here. Why don't we get started here? Bwana, would you mind introducing yourself and letting outliers know more about you and the game that you're currently playing?
Sure, man. And first of all, let me just say thank you for doing this. It takes a special type of person to really create this type of unity and just really helping people grow and flourish. So I just want to acknowledge you, man, and everything that you're doing for this community. It means a lot and it's a big deal. And we appreciate you for just putting this together. Bwana Thurman out in Dallas, Texas, and started a company called Blueprint Worldwide a little over a year ago now. And our main focus has been in the financial industry, specifically financial education and trade education. We are expanding now into an entrepreneurship academy, and that's what we were just talking about a moment ago. But I just feel like the world is changing and we have to adapt. And in my little humble opinion, I always say the best time to work on a plan B is when your plan A is going well. And, you know, I just, I feel like there's a need, a real need, and not just a need, a real want for a lot of people to do what we're doing and continuing to explore their greatness, explore their passions. And I just believe everybody can do it through entrepreneurship. And so we have a platform that provides the education, the expert guidance and support, as well as the engine, all the tools and resources to make your dreams really come to fruition.
I'm glad you do what you do, Bwana. I think that there's a real opportunity here, and I love this element. The best time to work on a plan B is when plan A is going really well. I like that kind of stuff. Looking forward to seeing what else comes out of this conversation. Adrian, why don't we get to know you? Tell us more about you and the game you're currently playing, please.
For sure, for sure. My name is Adrian Reece. I'm out in Toronto, Canada. I am a writer of all sorts. I'm a poet. I'm a performer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm currently building a series. It's called Voice and Verse that is going to be released in a few months this year in 2025. That is highlighting artists, bringing together understanding. We spend a lot of time as artists creating, and often the inspirations and the implications of our art goes over most people's heads. Within our art lies the ability to understand one another within community, because art is a reflection of our circumstance, of the things that we've experienced growing up, and of the community around us. My objective with Voice and Verse is to highlight those elements that many of us can kind of relate to. Within that mutual understanding, we can bring together community. We can, you know, highlight some of the things that we're experiencing in different parts of the world, right? I mean, I'm online here with, four other brothers who are doing their thing as well. I'm sure there are a lot of things we have in common. Those are things that bring us together, and I want to emphasize those things through art on Voice and Verse, as opposed to talking about what divides us.
Adrian, I'm appreciative of this here. And even as you're talking here, just your introductions are so cool because like as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I got questions for you. Like I want to see how you're building this, how you're thinking about this. Yeah, thanks so much, Adrian. Thanks for being you, but also thanks for creating platforms for something much larger, for a much larger conversation to take place that can really unify. Right. So thanks for
Absolutely.
that. Jaffee, would love to get to know more about you in the game that you're playing, Jaffee. Would you mind letting us know about that, you in the game you're playing?
Yes, sir. Give thanks again, like I said, for sharing your platform. Uh, I'm playing my game, pretty much. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Uh, Today, I'll be focusing more about my podcast, which is Black Blood Voices. Uh, And, aside from running the podcast, I'm also a book author. And my most recent book I've published is Earth Day, a children's book called Earth Day in the Hood. I've published other books in the past, such as poetry books and fictional books. Um, but this book, Earth Day in the Hood, just really puts a focus on uh, environmental responsibility and kind of, help the youth, gain a stronger connection to the understanding of environmental racism, which is kind of more of a mature topic to talk about. But uh, we show a presence in different schools that I attend and speak at with my organization, which is Recycle Reinvest here in Nashville, Tennessee. So the game that I am playing is the game for the people and for the revolution. And I'm always open to connect with like-minded individuals to figure out a way to make collective impact, for real.
Duffy, I'm excited that you're here. Thank you for the work that you're doing here. You talked about environmental racism, and like that's already getting my mind thinking, because I don't tend to think about it in that kind of context. And so I'm excited to see just like the different contexts and different ways that we can be looking at things in our conversation. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, doing the work you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And then Daniel, let's get to know you. Tell us more about you and the game you're playing.
So the game I'm playing, I have a podcast. It's called Self Therapy. It's not, I wouldn't really call it your average podcast necessarily, because the feel I'm trying to go for is more of like a FaceTime kind of aspect where you feel like you're getting personal with the host, right? Whereas most podcasts, it's like somebody's talking at you really. I want to get like more of a personal feel, so you feel like you're having a conversation with me and I'm not talking at you. And the topics I go over are really mental health based and just average day-to-day life, because I feel like we're lacking community, specifically people of my age group, which would be like Generation Z, millennials. I feel like there's just such a divide within our, like, every single community that is based around us, no matter what demographic we're talking about. So I think just building that community and putting like words out there of encouragement instead of tearing people down and things of that matter is very important during this time. And along with that, I'm actually doing a rebrand at the moment, because when I started the podcast years ago, it wasn't at the quality in which it could be at. So now I'm planning on relaunching in a couple months with higher production quality, and I'm campaigning and all these other things. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad each of you are here. Thanks for the games that you're playing. This is exciting times. I As we have our conversations, different questions will come up here, and I my hope is to get and see how you all have navigated it. And so, one of the things that was come to me, Adrian, was so as you were speaking, Adrian, you talked about like oftentimes art goes over people's heads, and then you created like you have voice and verse, and you have ways to like help like elevate that and make some connections there. Each of you all are visionary leaders. I hear you each of coming up with things that people don't normally see, or find like gaps where whether you bridge it through business or through like the impact that you're doing, you're finding ways to go around that. And I am sure that there are times where your vision just goes over people's heads. And so I'm really curious about like how y'all have found what's one big vision that you have right now that's really important to you? And then the other thing here is like how are y'all navigating like bridging this larger vision, this thing that hasn't been done, hasn't been seen yet, and actually helping other people come along and like come along for the ride, or at least, or even roll up their sleeves and come join you. So curious here, as visionary leaders, how do you navigate that and help other people be able to come on the journey with you? I think a lot of outliers out there are trying to navigate that. Anyone want to take this on? I'll toss it into the sphere here and just have y'all talk about like how y'all navigate it.
Yeah, I can start off. I feel like because the world is changing so much, especially in this financial landscape, I humbly feel like one of the largest wealth transfers that has ever been seen or created is getting ready to happen. And there's a gap that's taking place. And in some cases, unfortunately, the richer are getting richer and the less fortunate are, getting poor or getting poorer. And I believe that all of us have something on the inside of us. And this is literally what we teach. We teach people how to take what I call the information industry, been around forever. It's now a $300 billion industry, probably soon to be a $1 trillion industry within the next 3-4 years. We have things inside of us, all of us do, whether it be hobbies and passions, which I've heard some of you talk about already, whether it be business skills or career skills that just something we've been doing, something we've been grinding on. Maybe if you've, worked elsewhere, you've been doing something and you're way better than the people that are making more money than you, but just not getting paid for it. So it could be a career skill set or business skill set. And then last but not least, it could be a life experience. It could be something that we went through that because of that experience, very few people can talk about it the way we talk about it. Very few people can educate on it the way we educate on it. And so I believe we can take this specialized knowledge and we can turn it into a skill set. And if we can go out and create a bridge, y'all, it's really about bridge. I learned a long time ago that people pay for speed. And if we can go out and create a bridge for whatever those problems, whatever, if we got a real good solution, oh man, it's lights out. There are millions of people who want to know, and they'll pay for that speed so they won't have to go through some of the same hardships that we went through. And so that's what we're doing to pull people with us. We believe that we can show them that you have something on the inside of you, and we're going to give you that education. We're going to provide that expert guidance and support, and we're going to give you all the tools and resources. We call it the blueprint engine to make it come to fruition.
Loving it, loving it. Let's I love to hear from you all here. Like what else you doing this year?
I'll jump in. I feel like you can let me know if I'm going off topic here, but I think it comes down to purpose. When I think about what it is that I'm doing, what it is that other people are doing, I know I found my purpose when I started to align myself with the Lord, right? So in finding Jesus and finding the Lord, allowing myself to just be obedient to him to see what it is you want me to do as opposed to what I want to do. So that kind of like relates to where I am with Voice and Verse, the series I'm creating. I had originally wanted to apply that concept solely to myself. And the thought came to me, why it wasn't working out is because it was very selfish, very internal, very, the Lord showed me, Adrian, it's not about you. It's about how the gifts that I've given you, how can I apply them to, as many people as possible to kind of bring people more into alignment with their purpose, right? So that's a big thing. I mean, I have a podcast too. I know you gentlemen have one as well. And mine is called Become Your Creation. That's where I talk about aligning with your purpose. What is it that the Lord has kind of brought you out to do? So within that, within the aspect of purpose, we find aspects of unity, right? We've got BT over here. He's bringing people together. We've got Jaffee over here. He's bringing people together. We've got Daniel. The core of all of our projects, of all the things that we're working on, is bringing people together, right? And even on the aspect here, we're all brought together in the different avenues of things that we do that kind of got us here at the same time today. So yeah, I'm bridging gaps by unification through purpose.
Yeah, and I can add to that about how to navigate with the vision. I think for me, it starts with paying attention to the blind spots that I see in my community, that I see in the world, and recognizing the intelligence and the power and the ability that I also have that can be leveraged with the network that I build and develop. And, you know, navigating in that space has to do with a lot of internal fortitude. You know, it's a lot of things that you have to have internally in order to do what you perform externally. And you know, I think some of the ways that keeps the vision fresh or keeps the vision, uh, keeps the momentum of the vision going is having the next generation or having, you know, somebody else that you can train up or train next. You know, is how you know, kind of don't have such a burnout or don't exist in this space so bitter, you know. Because I would really say that the motivation of yourself is what's gonna drive you, but it's like the optimism and the energy of others is what's gonna like be that extra boost for those like low days. Cause you know, you can have the best business plan, you know, you can have the best lawyers, and you know, it's certain things that you deal with in entrepreneurship that you just can't even plan or foresee. Uh, so I think having the vision is important, but also, uh, you know, as you are in this journey, leaning into adapting and leaning into adjusting, you know, as you fly, as you go forward. That's the best way I can put it for right now. It's been a long day, so my brain is really kind of trying to put it all together. But and I may ramble a little bit, but like I said, we do this every day, so all I gotta do is tell you about my life. But yeah, man, that's what I would say too. Is that like, you know, how do we navigate in this space as an entrepreneur? How you keep that vision? You know, it takes that plan, it takes that team, you know, it takes that foresight, it takes that internal fortitude, it takes uh, faith, you know, it takes the faith. There's a lot of different elements, you know, that it takes, but it also takes that self-awareness first, I would say. That self-awareness first is like the first step.
Thank you for that, Jaffee. Like that's hidden there. Yeah, I'm gonna have some follow up on that in a bit. I want to hear Daniel, like, and any thoughts from you on it. And don't feel like you need to answer this question. Like, so like I'll put it out here. We don't need to go around to every single person every time, all that stuff there. But like if it's there and you want to bring in something, go ahead.
I actually have something I want to piggyback on, but go ahead, Daniel, if you had something. Okay. I like both Adrian and Jaffee said something that is just huge, and I think man, anybody listening to what I'm getting ready to say can it could be beneficial because it's been a blessing to me, and it ties into what they both said. The first thing that I want to say, and it totally relates to what Adrian said, and I want to say this: everything that appears or looks like it's a God thing, or let me say that I said it backwards. Everything that appears or looks like it's a good thing isn't a God thing. And let me say this even and go a little bit deeper. Have any of you ever had something happen in your business and it went so smooth? It just felt like it was the right thing. It was supposed to be. And I can relate to this because I had one of our first instructors, and it just seemed like, oh my gosh, how am I so lucky to have this guy come on board and be a part of our organization, you know, where we were a baby in the very, very, very beginning. This was even before we launched the company. And it just seemed like it was such a good thing. Everything appeared to be great. But the guy ended up literally trying to sabotage the company,
Mm.
which goes into Jaffe's being able to identify some of those blind spots And the word that came to my mind when you were talking is we got to be able to pivot
Yes,
when
sir.
things don't always go exactly like we expect them to go, or
And
as good as they appear to be or seeming to be going.
mm,
Man, to be able to just say, okay, it's time to pivot. I got to move. I don't have too many options. I either got to go backwards or I got to pivot and make some moves and make some things happen. And so for me, the one thing that I'll say, and this is just again based on what you said, Jaffee, also my faith. This is based on my faith. What I had to learn how to do is even when something seems like it's really good, even when something appears to look like, oh man, that's a God. You ever said that before? That's a God sent. Well, everything that look good ain't a God. It ain't good. And
mm,
so I had to learn to start really pausing and saying, not just because it looks good, let me pause and let me ask God and really get some clarification. Let me get some confirmation, then take a move on it. Don't just move just because it feels good, looks good, seems good, appears to be good. So that's something that I've had to that's been a challenge for me, especially in the beginning, and something that I've worked on doing consistently as of late.
And even on that, just to kind of bridge off that where you're going, like I think what you kind of honed in on is the trust, right? So we're sitting there talking about something goes wrong, and yeah, we're talking, you want to pivot, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I know this went wrong. What is my next step? I'm gonna trust the Lord to direct me to my next step so that I can continue on, pushing forward what it is that he's placed in me to, kind of make waves in whatever capacity. Because we're gonna sit here and think about what we can do for ourselves. That's not what we're here for. We are here to find out what we can do for other people. Any talent you have is designed for other people to see, yes, this person is, God, like you said, God sent, but I don't want to use that phrase. This person is, walking with the Lord. This person is doing what they're supposed to be doing. This person is walking in their purpose. And through that, it's infectious, for lack of a better word. It's infectious, right? So even listening to podcasts, meeting new people, networking, those things inspire others, right? When you're walking in that purpose, it's inspirational, right? But you got to be able to trust. That's what I spent a whole year and a half, struggling with for a little bit. Things are going wrong. I'm just like, what's my next move? What's my next move? I had to just really just sit down and just focus in and just trust in the Lord to, guide me where I'm supposed to be going, right? And then so here I am today talking to you gentlemen. So
I appreciate all of y'all as we're having this conversation, and we're gonna keep letting the conversation evolve as it needs to. Um, Jaffee, you brought this up here. Uh, Wanda, you also leaned into it here with the element of it really got me when you talked, Jaffee. You're like the optimism of others on those low days, and there are things that you're gonna experience or that you're gonna have that you deal with that you just can't like plan or foresee. Right.
mm-hmm.
I would love to. I think so. Whenever you go, Jaffee, I'm like, you know it. Like. So let's start with you right now. I'd love to make this real, right? Because the outliers that are listening to this, some of them are waiting and they're like, I need to have everything exactly planned out before I can make a move, right? And other people are like, I I jumped in or I had to plan and I got knocked out. Like this isn't for me, like so on and so forth. But they know because they're listening to this, they know deep down inside that like there's greatness that's still looking to come out. So I would love to, and let me not even just talk about them. I had a friend who kept telling me he's like my goal is just to keep growing my capacity to deal with everything that comes in because he's like I've had three people sue me through my business, like, and he just started like going off on all these things, and I was like, I don't think I'm allowing myself to play in a game where I would actually have real problems, you know? And I like it's something you'll find with me. I'll be like, oh, just so you know, if you work with me, my goal is to help you have better problems, like because like if you're out there actually creating, these things are gonna come. These things are gonna come. So Jaffee, why don't we like can you help make this real like for us if you don't mind sharing like one of the times where you got hit with something that you couldn't plan for or foresee, and then I'd love to open it up for everyone else and just to talk about something real with them and some of how they navigated it out from there. You mind starting us off with that though, Jaffee?
Uh, navigating towards success while understanding how navigating towards success while understanding that you're successful, right? Because I feel like I went through a phase of my life where I didn't know I was actually being successful, but also it was like I didn't know how to deal with that at the same time with dealing with my relationship, who is now my fiance, right? But at the time, you know, for me, a background on me, Nashville, grew up gang banging, got locked up when I was young, got out when I was 22. I got locked up when I was 15, got out when I was 22. In and out of jail from till 25, and I got my life together. Opened my first business at 25. And that was my organization because I wanted to help young men who had been through the system like myself, right? Organization started doing good, it popped off. Never started a nonprofit before. I ain't never been to college before. We just did this off the heart. And I learned how to write grants and stuff, and we started getting grants. So I speed up and I say all those things to say, it's going to get to a point in your life where it's like the things you didn't have strong belief in, just because you stay consistent, something great can happen. And when something great is happening in that moment, I don't know how to deal with the fact that I'm doing good because I'm so used to scrambling. I'm so used to, well, I gotta put this together to make this work. I'm so used to, well, baby, can you go do this for me? And now when the money start rolling in, it's like, damn, you can slow down a little bit. You can be around. You know what I'm saying? You paying attention to stuff a little bit more, and it's like, when you in a relationship and you ain't never, dealing with psychological stuff and mental health stuff and dealing with growing up in the, when you used to growing up in a certain type of wage, when you have a certain wage, you got a certain mindset, right? And it's like once I changed my mindset, my wage started changing as well, naturally. I always tell people like the amount of money you make is sometimes due to what you're able to understand or deal with and comprehend for real. Because, once I started applying myself, I really started making more money. I started understanding money better. I started understanding myself better. So I say all that to say, like I said, like my one of my biggest struggles was just, adapting to being a human, but also like my dreams taking off in a way that I couldn't see that it would happen, and that's not something that you can read a book on. That's not something you can go to your homeboy about or your homegirl. For ladies listening, that's not something that you can that's something that you got to do your inner work yourself, and you got to understand yourself so you can not only communicate to them, but you can communicate to your mind better. You get what I'm saying? So you ain't walking around and working on a faulty system. Because if you working on a faulty system, as in your personal life, that's going to affect your business. You know what I'm saying? And it might lead to self-sabotage and certain opportunities. So, understanding how to control your anger, understanding how to control your perspective, understanding how to reframe those negative thoughts. All that's going to lead to you being able to be successful. But until you handle those blockages, you ain't going to be able to get those blessings.
Yeah.
So that's like a real situation that I feel like now. I'm better now. I'm better out that hump. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't been to therapy and we didn't work it out. Like I said, I proposed to her and now she's my fiance. But like I said, like for
Congratulations.
young men coming up, you feel me, who been living a certain type of way since they was a child, second, third generation. You get what I'm saying? It ain't gonna come easy to you at all. You get what I'm saying? It probably ain't gonna come across your mind unless you got a good mentor, which I had. Unless you got a good coach, which I had. Unless you got a good mama, you know what I'm saying, which I had. Real
I,
talk,
Well, I appreciate you bringing that in, like being real about it, right? Like let's keep it going. Adrian, I think you might have something to bring in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thinking about like navigating towards success and like just the thought of what was holding me back previously, it was like the fear of action, right? So I'd always like kind of second guess myself, am I able to? And Niiamah, we talked about this the last time we had a conversation. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm not able to have those conversations in terms of like, pitches, reaching out, connecting with people. I knew I had the ability, but I was never confident in myself in kind of, approaching people, closing out the deal, networking. And I don't know when, like something, like one day, like a flip just switched, and I was just like, yo, I'm gonna just do it. The worst thing that can happen is nothing happens. The best thing that can happen is I get an opportunity. So, like at this point, it's like whatever is going on, it's just like, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get better at it. I'm gonna keep pushing, right? So, it's that internal fear, Jaffee, just like what you were talking about, like the mental state that you can't have. Like no one can teach you it. You just have to do it. And I feel like an aspect of that is literally just doing it. You just, whatever it is, just do it. You don't know how to do it. You figure it out as you go along, right? I think
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg has a phrase, do it messy, fix it later, right? I live by that now. I'll do it. Okay, the first time's not great, cool, but the second, third, and fourth time, it's gonna get better each and every time. And by the time we hit the 10th time, people are looking at you like, oh, like you seem like you've been doing this for years. You could have only been doing it for 6 months. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just literally just that was my transition to where like I started seeing the difference in like just like you, the amount of money I'm able to make, the amount of connections I'm able to make, the people I can connect with is literally just, hey, I'm gonna just, if I don't know how to do it, I'm gonna figure it out, and that's it.
Yeah, good book that I read a long time ago. I hope I'm getting this title right. I think it was called Ready, Fire, Aim. And I
Mm.
forgot the author's name, but the point of it is sometimes you just have to go. You got to go. And or you've heard people say, "Hey, go ahead and start flying, and you'll figure it out when you get up in the air." And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't, which is what Niiamah was bringing up, and just trying to identify where that balance is. But sometimes you have to celebrate those small wins. You have to take action. You have to move and celebrate those small wins. And it'll give you confidence to move to the next step and build upon those small wins.
I also think something that's important is the community that you build around you, whether that be your family or your friends or your significant other, whoever that may be. I think having people that encourage you to be your best and to, do your best work, even if that's not in the beginning and they see the vision later on down the line. I think that having that person or those people in your life is crucial to your success. I mean, even if it is only yourself in the beginning or it is only yourself for a while, I still think that eventually finding people that fuel you to do better or be better or go get better is really important.
Mhm.
Even on that, I remember when I first started writing poetry, none of my boys I grew up around, they didn't take it seriously, but it was strangers who, kind of poured into me, gave me the confidence. I remember I was writing poetry, I was just putting it up on social media, just doing whatever. A stranger emailed me probably like 6, 7 months down the line, and they said, hey, I was going to commit suicide until I read your work. I saved that email. I was like, that's crazy because I'm just writing poetry. I'm just writing like my experience down and just sharing it online. And then I get an email like that. And I was like, I literally sat down and I was like, yo, I'm impacting someone just like I didn't even know how to conceptualize it. To this day, I still don't even know how to conceptualize it because like I'm sitting there, I've never met this person, don't know, never seen their face. They literally just found my email, sent me an email. I read it and they're like, yeah, I was gonna commit suicide. I read your work and I'm in such a better place. Thank you so much. And I'm just like, wow, right? So it's the strangers, it's the people you don't know who are going to pour into you, and then they end up being your community. Just like talking about like having those people who support you, you end up finding people who are more aligned with you, right? It's not always your immediate family or your immediate friend. They sometimes jump on way after the fact. You know what I'm saying? You've been doing this for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they're like, "Oh, you're legitimate. You're you're where it's at. Then they're with it. But in the beginning, it's not always the people closest to you. You find those people close to you as you align more with your purpose, as you do what you're supposed to be doing. You find that community.
I'm gonna bring something in here because y'all are. I think I trust y'all, and I feel like it's a conversation that I'm as you're talking here. I'm like y'all. I'm curious how you are navigating this. So, Jaffee, you brought up like the element of you didn't use this exact words, but it comes up with my clients, and I'm wondering from here where it's like when you're used to struggling or like trying to survive, and then you hit into thriving, like that in and of itself like creates its own set of problems because you're like I'm used to like I know how to put out fires, but there's no fires around me, so how do I still get wet? It's like one of those like things that show up, and that's really working with me. I think it happens. It happens in a lot of different ways. I find like I can oftentimes like self-sabotage because I know chaos more than I know like consistency, for example. And so I'm going to ask this question here because uh, one of the things that's coming for me is I like using this space and saying like what is it like to actually play a really big game? And that keeps adjusting. But like I think about it from the standpoint of like when you all find yourself playing smaller than you think, what has been some of the things that's helped you like actually say yes to like leveling up your thinking, Jeffrey, you were saying you're like, hey, look, here goes my experience, and then all of a sudden I brought myself into the entrepreneur world. Like it's a completely different, like when you talk about that 10-year gap between 15 and 25, it feels like you're a completely different like way of going about things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking about that for myself, even just like on the elements of being like, should I be hiring a team? Like, should I be looking at this and saying, I can get by with building things kind of slowly, or do I just invest and bring on a whole lot and get a whole new set of problems and so on and so forth? But I'm curious how y'all think about it because I'm finding myself wanting to balance what I know with like the actual possibility of what might be there once the mindset shifts. Any thoughts on that? Was that a clear question?
I feel like I think a part of the question, what I heard is like, what was it about those certain experiences that made me want to change my approach? Is that what
Yeah,
you were
it's
saying?
really about like the element of like it feels like you change your level, right? It feels like you looked at the way that you were approaching things very differently than you had before. And Adrian
I
even just
got
said, yeah. So like that component of really saying, hold on, I know everything in my past might have suggested XYZ, but I'm going for it, whatever it is on multiple levels. I would love to talk about that because I thought it was a one-time thing, but it feels like it might be happening again right now. And I'm curious how y'all are navigated this in the past or how you're navigating now.
Me personally, sorry, BT. Um, just quickly, yeah, me personally, it came when I reshaped my mind from what I want to what the Lord wants, God's will. I want to give glory to the Father at every opportunity. When I start shifting my mind from, hey, this is what Adrian wants, to what does the Lord want for me, I was able to have more confidence to step into things because the Lord provides, right? In instances where I didn't know what I was going to have, if I was going to be able to, do what I got to do, the Lord provided. From there, I said, I can do whatever it is I need to do. I can step into any room. I can do whatever. So that's where my mind shift personally was. Um, you guys, let me know if you guys have something similar or you guys feel the same way.
I think for me, I got really lucky. Um, when I got out of college, I couldn't find a job. Like many people, here I went to a small school called Morehouse, ended up graduating, and I got this honors degree in finance, and I couldn't find a job. And well, I had one offer, but it was starting 6 months later. And so I want to piggyback off of what Daniel said because to me, it had a lot to do with who I started hanging around. I started hanging around people who were making more in thousands than they were years old. And for me, and making that every month. And for me, when I started hanging around those people, I knew it was something that I wanted, but it almost forced me to level up. It forced me to really say, okay, and especially when I saw other people that I didn't feel like was any different or more talented than I was. I just feel like, like Daniel said, it has a lot to do with who we hang around, who we surround ourselves with, who we allow to influence our heart, our mind, our ear gate, what that influence looks like. And for me, I got really lucky at the young age of 21 after graduating, having some really, really super wealthy people influence me. And that was one of the biggest things. And one of the things they taught me was that in order for me to ever have something, I had to become something first. And so we all understand the work and hard work. Everybody works hard. We got the do part. But that valuable lesson of be, do, have, man, I had to learn for me to have what they had, I had to become that person first. And it seems backwards, but it's real. And the way I became that person was to continue to hang around those people.
Mhm.
I appreciate y'all. We're like we just somehow got to the end of our time here together. But I think that there's something that I'm going to reflect in, and it's interesting here. The reflection I have here is a lot of times I'll bring in my elements into the conversation, right? And the thing that's cool about it as I'm hearing it is like typically the answer is a lot simpler than it may look. It's not like, hey, I did all these, I got into crypto at the right time or anything like that. It's like I hung out with good people who were challenging my thinking. I took myself out of my own ego and I put it up to a higher power. Like there's all these different things that are all at play here. That's like actually pretty straightforward, and simple overall. Not necessarily easy, but simple overall. So I appreciate y'all like just the more I play this game, the more I realize it's about the basics and the foundations, right? And if those things are in play and you keep coming from those elements over and over and over again, then like the results come and transpire from there. So we're at time. What I'm going to do here is do this. Outliers. This conversation was incredible, and I would really appreciate something for you. We grow this podcast from word of mouth only, and so if you can, would you please go and share this conversation out with your network, with your world, have them benefit from the conversation that took place. And underneath that, I'm going to ask for one more thing, which is what we call the one person, one conversation at a time initiative, which is that like while this can grow, while it'd be great to get this to a whole lot of people, I think the real thing here is if we can actually impact one person because you thought of a person in your life who would benefit from the conversation that Jaffee, Daniel, Adrian, and Bwana were having, like think about that person and please send this episode over to them. That mean the absolute world to us here. And it's just a way to not just have reach, but real impact. And I think that's something that's really important. All right. So we're going to wrap up our conversation here. The way that I wrap up conversations is that we're going to ask you to share the best way for outliers to continue down with you. Each of you have your own platform, so I'm sure that like if an outlier wanted to find you on all the different places, they could. But like let's focus on like the best way for them to find you overall. So if you can share that, and then we also end with sharing an insight that we got from the conversation, something that you yourself were taking away. This is important. It's not for outliers. They've gotten their thing at this point here. I'm curious about like how did you grow throughout this conversation, if at all, right? And so the way I like to look at it is like if you had an insight, go ahead and share it. If we didn't, no biggie. But I want to leave space for that as well here. Okay. All right, so we'll do this and we'll wrap from there. Daniel, why don't we start with you, and then we'll go to Bwana.
The best way you can find me is on my podcast Instagram, which is self, and instead of the L, it's a one, and then therapy. And then the one thing one of the things I took away from this is to keep going because I'm still kind of young and podcasting can be a lot. It's a lot of meticulous work, but I think I'm taking away from this like to keep going and see where I can go with it. Really.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much, Daniel. We go to Bwana and then Adrian. You are muted, Bwana.
I would say the best way to contact me is just via email. It's info@blueprintworldwide.com, info@blueprintworldwide.com. No E in blueprint. And I always get a lot of takeaways. I learn, just so much about maintaining um, maintaining our focus, and faith. I heard a lot of things today about faith that is always good to hear and be reinforced. And then just no matter what the backgrounds come from, where we all come from different backgrounds. One of the things that, sometimes it's easy for entrepreneurs and people in general to do is to prejudge, but never prejudge people. That was one of the biggest insights that I got today.
Thank you much, Bwana. Adrian and Jaffee will wrap us up for today.
Yeah, so you guys can find me by email, contact@adrianreece.com, or on Instagram, same Adrian Reece or Adrian Reece on Instagram. The thing I took away was a re-emphasis for me on community, having the right people around me, making sure I'm in contact with people who, have faith, who are supportive, who have the same mindset, so we can grow together. That simple cliche topic of, if you're around 5 millionaires, you'll be the sixth, right? So kind of emphasizing that, I'm going to take that with me into the future.
Indeed, man. What I'm taking away from this is the best time to work on plan B is when plan A is going right. That was a solid quote, man. And also I feel like I learned from Daniel to be, curious about ideas. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be curious about ideas, man, for real. And I think that's good. And I feel like I pulled from Adrian, man, it's to hold your faith, because your faith is going to sharpen your discernment of what you need to hold on to or what you need to let go of. So I appreciate all you brothers giving some insight and giving some intel, and same with you, Niiamah. You was a great host, and I appreciate your diligent work on the streamline booking link. I appreciate that. So best way to get in contact with me is my website, www.rajjaffeejudah.com. Tap in with the Black Blood Voices on Instagram and all social media. Emails, info@rajjaffeejudah.com. And I'm always, like I said, open to network, looking to speak. Yeah, I'm here. As long as God give it to me, I'm gonna give it to y'all.
Well, I appreciate each of you all here. Thank you so much for being a part of this here. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you for having experiences, the good and the bad, so that we can come here and continue to build it. I'm excited for what comes next. All right. Outliers, remember this. Until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.